Also gone live on YouTube. So people who will be joining from YouTube can watch it from there. Okay, so I think more people will, keep joining in as we go along.
Yeah.
Let me first start with the introduction of the session. And as you know, you all know that today's session is going to be regarding, how to empower your law career. So basically, crucial legal skills that you can develop. So the topics that we will be covering, or some of the aspects that we will be covering, are some of the branches of law. How what is the legal system like? What are its components? Then what are the skills for success, and how will you be able to gain those skills? And different career paths in the particular in this particular field. So for the same, I'm quite happy to introduce Angelica Adhikari. She has completed her BA LLB, and she's working with the Calcutta High Court. She's also an author of two books, co-founder of the NGO Women Today, and is also skilled in NLP, face reading, legal criticism, and legal research. So, just to remind all of you who have joined that whatever questions you have regarding the topic, your own, questions regarding the field of law, you can just post it in the Q&A box that you can see. And we will keep a track of the question, but we will take it up at the end of the presentation. So, without any further delay, Angelica, please begin.
Thank you so much. Okay, before I start off, okay, let's do this, little KYC thing. So I would request people who have already joined, if they could, write down what background they are coming from, or if they are students, or they are actually, how many of you all really want to take up law as a career. So that is very important for,
You guys can just post in the chat box that you can see
yeah.
on the right hand side.
So is everybody into, yeah, so is everybody a student, or you're already doing something, you have already joined college, or somebody who is just graduated, let's say has graduated LLB, or is about to graduate from the same course? Okay. Okay, so we also have a professor. Okay. So something that I would ask everybody to do is just keep one pen and a notepad, or any paper handy. If you have to go get your tea, coffee, anything sweet to have, get yourself hydrated, this is the time. Okay, so now I think we can begin. So today we are doing a webinar on the crucial skills for succeeding in the legal field. So first of all, welcome to everybody. And these, whatever we are going to talk about, we are going to cover three main things, which is firstly the branches which are available to us, because most of the times what happens is we get into, even after 5 years of studies, also a lot of people are lost and they don't know what exactly it is that they are wanting to get into, or which branch, which career to choose. So that is one thing that I'll try to clear out as many doubts as I get. And apart from that, it's also very important to get an overview of the legal system if you are still you've been a little aloof about it. So it's very important for us to understand why we what are we getting in. Okay. Okay, so with the legal field, uh, I would like to know how many of you Are, how much do you think you know about it? Like, do you think you know enough about law, or what got you excited to know about law? Please, let's make it interactive, okay? Yes, legal knowledge is important for everyone. And what got you excited to know about law? And why would you want to choose a career regarding law? Legal implications in health. Okay. Okay. So, whenever we get into law, there are you'll see practitioners of law everywhere. Okay, so it's not necessary that just because you've completed a law degree, you have to get into litigation, as in you have to run to the court and speak in front of a judge. So that's not always very important. So there is judiciary, there is litigation, there are multiple government jobs also that you can prepare yourself for. Okay, human resources and legal significance, right? Yeah, so there is a lot of government jobs, then corporate fields that need lawyers. PwC, I think a lot of you are aware of. So multiple lawyers get hired for PwC every year, right? And there are multiple such companies which are hiring corporate lawyers. So let's get into the importance of acquiring crucial skills. Okay, we are going to talk about the skills, but there are certain skill sets that we have to stick to, right? Like, let's say that you're going to build a house. So there are certain skill sets that you stick to. Similarly, it's in the legal field, there are certain skill sets that you will have to stick to, which is, you have to polish them a little more. Obviously, first is your knowledge on about law, and the other is very important thing that people keep on talking about is the fact that you need to know how to speak, or public speaking skills. Now, beyond this also, okay, there are multiple things required which we will get to. The main objective of this presentation, just to make it clear once again, is to highlight the skills required to make a better career and to explore various career paths. And we are, you know, exploring this for you. So if there is anything that you think that, you want to ask, or you want to write about, so feel free to come to the chat section. We want it to be interactive. So understanding the legal branches. Uh, Now, how many legal branches of law are you aware of? Most of the people are aware of there is civil, there is criminal, and there is corporate, right? Like, either you are a civil lawyer, or you are a criminal lawyer, or you're a corporate lawyer. Now, most of the cases, I agree that they fall either into civil or corporate, or sometimes it's a mixture of both, and you don't know what to call it. But there is administrative law as well as constitutional law, and they are not just it, right? These are just branches that we have come out with. Now, how many of you know about cyber forensics, or you've heard about cyber forensics? Have any of you heard of it? Yeah, so this is again a very new branch which is opening up. It is still into functions. Now, cyber forensics can also, sometimes collide with criminal aspects. So it's not necessary that when a case comes up, or there is any subject that you are reading, that it has to fall under civil or criminal or, constitutional. Most of the things that we deal with somehow is connected to the constitutional law. But these are the basic branches. So we have civil, we have criminal, we have constitutional, we have corporate, and we have administrative law. Now, what are these? With civil law, we can understand that it is about your civil rights. Okay, this is what if one person is has a dispute with another entity, those cases will go to the civil courts. Criminal law, as we know, it's actually said that any crime against the state, even if it is murder, it's rape, it's any such laws, let's say it is domestic violence, these are all criminal cases, but these are also cases which are against the state to a certain extent because the state is giving you certain rights. Now, constitutional law has to do with anything with the constitution, the interpretation of the constitution. So it will do with, protecting your fundamental rights and duties and the preamble, whatever the preamble has to say, whatever equality we talk about. So that will fall under the constitutional law, which will deal with the constitution altogether. Corporate law, as we all know, that it is about from setting up a business to executing all of it. So it is to do with most of the time the business entities, your taxations, and the limited liability companies, all of that. So where does administrative law fall in? Can we have some guesses, or if anybody knows about it? Can somebody tell me what administrative law is? Okay, so okay. Yes, it is related to administration issues. Okay, you have to be a little more explicit. You're correct, though. It has to do with administrative issues. Now, administrative issues like what? Okay, it has to do with whatever the government is doing. Okay, so it is governing the actions of the government agencies, and whatever actions they are taking, decisions they are taking, right? So that has to do with the, uh, what civil is, what criminal is, what constitutional is. If you have any doubts so far, education sector admission issues. Okay. So if you have any doubts so far, we can revisit again. So feel free to please put down anything that you feel like sharing, anything that you feel like, asking. Now, let's understand with a few cases, okay? So how many of you have heard about the O.J. Simpson case? So these are just, if you can note down the cases as well, it will be really good for you. So you can just, after the webinar is over, you can go back and check on these cases because these are really, certain cases which have made history sort of. So I'll just type it in here so that you know what I'm talking about. Just note it down. So I think they have a series or a movie on this also, the O.J. Simpson trial on Netflix. So if you haven't watched it, you can. But is anybody aware of this? So if you're not aware of the O.J. Simpson case, then you can go and that would go and check on it. So that would be a really great example for your criminal law cases that we were talking about. And another great uh, example would be the McDonald's case. McDonald's coffee case, if you can, please go back, go and just search it on YouTube if you want to. That would be a suitable example for your civil cases. For constitutional law, you can check Brown versus Board of Education, sorry. So these are just, starters to why you should, uh, you know, this will get you excited into the legal field. So it's good to know certain cases, and these can serve as good examples for what we just went by. Okay, so now we will navigate through the career path, obviously, but before that, I think it's necessary for us to know what it is, what is the field really like, the wholesomeness of the legal field. So when you get into law, law itself is not just a single, career path. There is litigation involved. There is legislation involved, which gets the government involved as well. There is judiciary involved. There are legal professionals, obviously, who are doing litigation separately. So there are firms as well. There are you can practice as a separate entity altogether as well, right? So let's start with legislation. So how much do you know about the legislation? What is the legislation? Can somebody tell me? Anyone? Okay, so since do we have something? No, we don't have. Okay, so legislation is basically the law making body, right? So who is making the laws in the country? The government is. Now, we already know that a bill gets passed, then it passes from both the houses, then it is passed as a law. Government introduces new laws, correct? So the legislation is providing a framework for us to work with, right? So I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but there was this one case, PIL, which was filed in the Supreme Court for the should marital rape be a crime or not. So what did the court say? The court said that it's not for us to decide because there are no laws made. So you go to the legislation with this. So in such cases, what happens is that the court will tell you that, hey, we can give recommendations that, okay, this should be criminalized or should be decriminalized. But in such cases, since there is no law formed on it, so in such cases, the court can also just recommend to the legislation but not take action. So legislation is forming the framework, the laws that are being followed. Then we come to judiciary. Now, judiciary is obviously, if you are getting into the justice system, it is, you see the judges. So, how do you become a judge? So, that's again another thing, that a career path that people can opt for. That is judiciary, where you have to give a judiciary examination and then, you know, obviously pass the examination, and then you can become a judge. So, judiciary is obviously, as I said, so we have legal professionals after that, and within legal professionals, how many of you have visited the court? Have any of you visited the court ever? And if you have visited the court, have you seen what is okay? And if you have visited the courtroom, then you will know that there is this in the front. You see there are two divisions. Okay, so one is the petitioner and the other is the defendant. So whenever you see legal professionals, it doesn't firstly necessarily have to be that they are into litigation. Litigation is when you're appearing in front of the judge and you're speaking. So it's not necessary that you're into it, but if you are litigating, so there are two roles into that as well, right? You can be a petitioner and you can be a defendant. So petitioner is what? You are petitioning to the court that, hey, there has been a crime and I am petitioning against the criminal, against somebody, an entity, a person. And defendant has to defend that entity or the person that the petitioner has petitioned against. Now, legal professionals doesn't always have to be that you are into litigation, as I said, and I will repeatedly keep saying this because most of the time, people get very demoralized who have just graduated and they think that litigation is just not best suited for them. Like even if you visit the court, you will see there are people, who do notary. Like if you've given your house on rent or business properties on rent, you know what notary is. So these people are sitting outside and they are doing notary, but all of them they hold a uh, degree in law. So it's not that they are also not working. So apart from that, also you can get into research, which is not as bad. So legal professionals doesn't always have to be people visiting court. They can also be visiting firms, and they can be in the background doing all the case researches, drafting the petitions, and all of that, right? Okay, so we need to get into, as I spoke about litigation. Now, obviously, litigation, uh, most of the time when there are litigation, there are cases which are going to the court, it's usually civil in nature. So we have a lot of civil lawyers, okay, a lot of civil lawyers out there, and criminal as well. There are a lot of corporate lawyers as well, but corporate courts are also, there are separate corporate courts as well. Now, what happens to the corporate lawyers? What happens if you are a corporate lawyer? What are the things that you can opt for? You can obviously go and argue if that is what you want to do. There are scope for that. Apart from that, also there are different sections where a lot of drafting is needed into the corporate field as well. Then there are contracts, mergers, all of this the corporate lawyers can work along. And then there is government and public sector. Now we do see that for corporate, for civil, for criminal, all of these people can also work privately. They don't necessarily have to work along with the government. But there is the government and the public sector as well. You'll see a lot of state defendants, state prosecutors, right? So they are taking up cases of the state where, maybe Mr. ABC is, versus the state. So who is defending the state? There are people who are defending the state as well. And there are, even when I spoke about judiciary, right? So it's like a government job. So you give your exams, you clear it, you become a judge. So it's a 9 to 5 job. Now there can be alternate careers as well, which I was talking about, which is research and writing and teaching. Like when Niharika introduced, I have also done legal criticism, right? So what is legal criticism? It's like it sounds like biblical criticism, but legal criticism is also, it's like journalism, right? So if you have a very in-depth knowledge into the legal field, so you can also write journals about it. There are sites which I will recommend in the end where you can actually start writing your legal journals, and there will be, it can attract a lot of traffic as well. Now skills necessary for success. So there has to be critical thinking, there has to be communication, there has to be adaptability. Now, what is critical thinking, communication, and adaptability? Can just anyone, if you want to unmute yourself and you want to, explain, can go ahead. Or if you want to write it down, you can go ahead. I just need somebody to explain the terms in brief as well. It's very simple. You can unmute yourself, you can write it in the chat box, whichever is convenient for you.
What was the term? Sorry, I missed it.
It is critical thinking, communication, and adaptability.
So if anyone has any inputs regarding that, they can just write down in
Yeah,
the chat box.
yeah, they can write it in the chat
Okay.
box.
Someone has raised their hand. I can allow them to talk as well.
Yeah.
Just yeah. Yeah, I think you can talk now. I've just unmuted you, Dr. Yogita.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yes. Thank you. It's nice to talk to you, ma'am, in this session. Regarding the critical thinking, it's a way of thinking where out of the box, the people are solving the cases by applying the research knowledge based on the problem solving approach. I mean, it will be obviously will be based on a problem solving approach, whereas communication will be like it will be in a written as well as the non-verbal type of communication, and many times it founds that the muted communication will also help in to solve the certain cases. And the adaptability of the this is like any certain situation, how the person is getting adapted with the I mean, if anybody stuck into the particular situation, so how it will be adopted in that particular situation is the basic skills will be applicable. It's we can say the livelihood skills will be applied. So this will be a trial error, or we can say this will be a what you can say, the approach will be differently for any situation by any type of individual. It may be a different for the others also, may not be same. So these are the three things will be applicable in the situation where student usually applies this thinking, communication, and adaptability in our sectors.
Yes. Thank you so much. And
Thank
she
you.
is absolutely correct. Um, so yeah, with adaptability, another very important thing is that, even before you actually start practicing, there are years when you have to go and intern. Okay. And if
Yes.
you are a first generation lawyer, let's say, and you haven't even, okay, we have something on the chat.
Yes,
Critical,
there is an input in the chat as well.
yeah, the thought process of analyzing and interpreting the situations, communication, connecting with people around us, adaptability, mold ourselves according to the situation prevalent. Yes. So exactly, you have to mold yourself according to the situation prevalent, and most of the times it's not always that, it's a courtroom and you are standing in middle of the people and you're speaking, that is where you face the issue. There is a lot of confidence issue which goes around, outside the courtroom. You haven't even entered the courtroom and there are hundreds of lawyers out there, and you step into the court and you think, okay, now I'm lost because where do I stand? So I think adaptability is also that, when there is nobody around you to motivate you, you have to self motivate yourself, because the case will not stop. You might ask for one day ki, okay, let's shift the date to another day, but you can't do it every day, right? So that is one. Communication is very important because you're not just communicating with the judge all the time. You're also communicating with the clients. No matter, even if you're into research, you have to do that continuously. Okay. So with communication and critical thinking, as Dr. Yogita told us, okay. So you have to put these two together in a certain way, that let's say that a client has come to you and is asking for your help, and the client is still holding back secrets, right? So there is a lot of psychology also which plays behind that, that how do you get uh, the information that you want out of the client. Okay. Next is embracing diversity in law, uh, and recognizing the value of inclusive and equitable legal practices. Okay, so there will be places, since I'm guessing that most of our participants are still students, so there will be times when you have to intern, because first thing is very 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 important is once you take up or you get into law college, or the to pursue the degree, interning is the way you make it. Like, it's extremely important to get into internships, get to know people, networking through them. So with that, you will see, and you will automatically start embracing the diversity and the perspectives and the experiences of various people, because there are various people that you'll meet there, and various people will have various perspectives towards just one case it might be. So along with that, valuing of inclusive and equitable legal practices um, means that sometimes it's not that you will be right all the time, right? You might just lose a few times. But in such cases, what do you do is you have to have a sportsmanship kind of spirit, and then you also have to learn from the person you lost. That, okay, this is these things. If I had applied, maybe I would have made sense, or I could have done it better. So it's also an all-inclusive thing. And if you have interned in a firm, or you will work for a firm, then you'll have this group activity that most of the time when you're applying for jobs also you see, right? Group effort. So it is a group effort. Ethical foundation. Give me a moment. Okay, understand the ethical principles that guide Indian law and learn to uphold integrity and professionalism in legal practice. So there are codes to be followed in every profession, I feel. And can somebody tell me what are the codes to be followed if you are a lawyer? Let's say you are a lawyer. And so what are the ethical codes that one must follow? This can vary, but there are certain set boundaries of codes that must be followed. For personal experiences, that can vary for sure, but there are still certain codes that you stick to. If there is anyone who wants to share it.
There is one
Privacy
input
of the
in the chart. Yeah.
yeah, privacy of the client. Yes, absolutely correct. This is very, very, very important, that the privacy of the client remains. Uh, Most of the times, if you see, whenever a petition is filed, they don't take the name of the client, even the defendant or the petitioner. Okay, the lawyer is talking on behalf of the client, and he represents the client in first person. And if there are multiple clients that the lawyer takes up, they already have a name that they go by, that my client so and so. Always the name might not be used. Accountability and justice. Yes. I think another ethical thing that a lot of lawyers, some follow, some don't follow, very controversial thing, that is delayed justice, right? Now, it's not just for the lawyers to follow, it is also for the judges to follow. So, delayed justice is another thing which should not happen. Autonomy. Could you accountability, justice, autonomy? Could you expand on autonomy a little bit for us to understand? Okay, and also to uphold the integrity and professionalism in legal practice, it's also that you have to uphold the integrity of the profession that you are in. Let's say that whenever you are going outside your house and you are all decked up in the lawyer's uniform, uh, that they say, but you leave the house and you go and do something very silly. Let's say you go, you and you are drinking and driving in the uniform. That's very disgraceful, right? So that is not upholding the profession. Autonomy of the client, if he is not satisfied with the output, human dignity. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, ethical foundations, certain uh, codes of ethics that you have to follow. And let's say that a client has already told you something. Since we have privacy in the picture, so a client comes and tells you, "Hey, I have murdered so and so person." So what do you do in such a case? Do you still go out there and defend your client that no, he's not accountable for murder? So these are a few things that is questionable, but ethically can vary for a person to person. But then, if a person has come and confessed to you, you still cannot, that it has been done. So you should not ethically come to the court and lie. But then there are practices where people can do that. And another very good question that I get asked very often, and I think one day I was traveling back from court and somebody I met on the road started asking me this, and it was that if you know that there is a criminal who is guilty, why do you go and represent the person? Would you represent that person in court? Now the first thing about that is, if I know that the person is guilty, I might not be going to court to save him for he has not done any crime. That might not be the case. But what you can establish is that what under what circumstances has the person done the crime. So the severity of the situation also matters. And apart from that, also, it's equal representation. That tomorrow, if you put somebody behind the bars, nobody can come and say that, hey, in India, we don't give the other person a chance to speak. So everybody has their right to represent themselves in front of the court, then whatever the court decides. So that is very wrong for people to assume that, okay, it's a bad lawyer who takes up a criminal's case. Okay, next we come to mentorship and networking. So mentorship is a very important thing, especially if you are a first generation lawyer or a first generation aspirant for for law. Uh, Mentorship and networking. Okay. Uh, for mentorship, that is why internship that I was saying is extremely important. Even after you have graduated, let's say, there are times when you might not have your own backing. These are the times when the senior advocates, they come and they help you out. You can work under them. You can work in firms, and it's very important before you start doing it all by yourself. You do it under these people because they know what they have seen. Experience is a very crucial thing in the field of law, because if you visit court, you will see there is no age limit to lawyers. It's a profession which does not restrict you after a certain age. So there are lawyers who are in their 90s and they're coming to court every day. So mentorship is extremely important. You get to learn a lot. The more cases you see, the more people you interact with, the more you learn. And networking, obviously, you will cultivate meaningful networks through your professional growth, because all the time it's not possible for you to critically think, right? So in such cases, there you might need help of a colleague or somebody who's some of your seniors or juniors or interns. So you can just go and ask them, what do you think about this case, or how to draft this. So there are multiple things that a lawyer should know. So in such cases, networking helps, because see, everybody is going to specialize in different fields. Let's say that you are practicing civil, and you have graduated with two or three other friends, and they get into criminal or corporate. Some gets into corporate, some gets into administration. So what happens? You all the cases are not just stuck to one particular branch, right? So they need inputs from all the sides all the time. So in such cases, it's good for you to have networking because it helps you get more clients. It helps you understand the case better because you might not know everything. And lastly, balancing work with your personal life is very, very, very important, and your personal well-being. So it's that is why there are so many career paths as well, right? So you might just not be a talker, but you might be interested into law. So it's not that you have to go to litigation all the time. There are researchers, there are professors of law, and they are doing very, very, very well in life. So there is this misconception that people come up with that, okay, you are a lawyer and you are not visiting the court. What are you doing? So it's not necessary for a lawyer to always visit the court, right? So balancing work with personal well-being, aligning your career path or whichever path you choose with your personal growth. Okay, so whichever path that you think suits you the best is very important, and self-care obviously is very important. Embracing change and innovation, and you will continuously find situations where you will have to change according to the situation. You cannot stick to a rigid mindset at all. There has to be logical thinking, there has to be critical thinking, and there has to be constant change in that thinking as well. New laws come up every year there is something being amended, something being removed, right, repealed. So every year there are changes. Just like that, you have to keep a very open mind. And the impact of technology and evolving legal trends on the future of the legal profession. So technology is also coming into play these days with AI and all of those applications which are here, which has made research more easier. I will still not say that it's doing a great job at drafting yet, but yes, if you talk about research, it has made research a little easier. It's not the on-site research that you can do through it, but yes, if you really have to uh, research about a case law or a section that you might have forgotten, because Indian law is vast, right? You cannot remember each section, each part of it, right? So in such cases, you can just go and type it in and it will give you the feedback. But critical thinking, it might not be able to do for you, right? So in such cases, you will still have to use your head. And do you think that AI can, for the future, in the future, do you think AI can you know, substitute lawyers? Because this is also a very, you know, curious question that I get to hear a lot, that AI can take over professions. It has taken over certain professions, but do you think it can take over the profession of a lawyer anytime soon? Let's say 50 years from now. No. Okay. It will surely help in retrieving data. Yes, it will. And we have no more responses. That cannot replace lawyers. Yeah. Somebody has written, no, can you tell me why do you think it is not? If you want to, you can raise your hand. I think uh, Niharika will unmute you then. Also, Niharika, do we have time? Or are we
Uh, we are actually running short of time. So And also there are some people watching on YouTube. They have there's a question over there, so I wanted to ask that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Okay, so since we are running out of time, I will try
Yeah,
to,
we can.
yeah.
If you have some more part of the do you have any more part of the presentation left, or should
Uh,
I
uh,
just jump to the question?
a little bit of it left.
Okay,
So
okay, okay.
I'll
Yeah.
try to wrap it up. Yeah,
Okay. We also have another input in the
response.
chat if you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to.
The skills in the way of representing cases efficiently can be done through lawyers. Yes, correct. So this is something I think all of you can go and see it for yourself as well. So it's some people can have varying, outputs about this question. Yeah. So empowering the next generation also, that once you reach, let's say you graduate and you become a lawyer, once you reach to that and you're doing well, let's say you're a senior advocate, you are doing really well, it's also your duty to guide the people who are coming into the profession of law. So in that way, the next generation is also keeping up with it, or they feel motivated to work. Celebrating legal diversity, there are various communities of people who come into the profession. There are various people who are coming from various backgrounds. Now they have integrated courses also, right? So you might have done a degree in arts and you're coming into law. There might have been somebody who's done a degree in commerce or science, and then they're getting into law. So there are multiple backgrounds, multiple ethnicity that you will get to see. So yeah, that's almost all that I have, but there are certain recommendations that I would give. Now, if you are new to law, which I am guessing most of the participants are, so there are a few courses. These are really short courses that you will find in Coursera, Udemy, and edX. Okay, so these are really, I'll just write it in the chat so that you can, note it down wherever you are. Coursera, Udemy, edX. So these are the platforms where you can get a few courses from as well. And they have specific courses for specific sorts of things under the legal concept as well. So they will cover various topics. Now I would suggest, if you are already a law student, then get into legal writing courses. If you are negotiation, and if you are in your last few years, then get into trial advocacy or all of those. Okay, so there are various skill developments that can be done. Blogs, and the one that I was talking about, if you want to do legal criticism, you will find a lot of my journals in Legal Service India. Okay, so this is the place you go, you make an account. Legal Service India is one site. Now, once you, let's say you want to write a journal, you write a journal, they will take time to, see whether they can post it or not. They will see if you're adhering to the format, or the length is fine, and whatever content is there is written correctly, professionally. So all of that is there. Apart from that, the blogs and websites that you can go and check out is, this is a must, which is SCC Online. If you are on, you can check it out on YouTube as well. You can check it out on Insta. If you just scrolling through Insta and you scroll through Insta every day, just go and follow it. Not able to see the course websites in the chat, I'll repeat it for you once again, which is Coursera, Udemy, and edX. Coursera, Udemy, edX. Can you see it now? Okay, so SCC Online is one, and the other is the lawyer portal. And there are certain YouTube channels as well, which is Legal Legal. Legal Legal is also a very good book. So if you are into reading and you want to read about great advocacies, then I think you should read this book. As well as this is a YouTube channel which is really great. Go and check this out. Law Career is another one. SCC Online, as I've already said. Live Law is another one. And read associate. Yes, there are short-term courses for non-law aspirants as well, but that's why I'm saying Coursera, Udemy. Udemy, I would suggest, is has more short-term courses. So go on to Udemy, and if you don't find any which is suitable for your needs or whatever you are looking for, then go on to Coursera. If you don't find it there, also go on to edX. I don't know if Shiksha is providing any at the moment or not. If they are, Niharika might be able to guide you through that. And you'll find multiple. Okay, so there are, since if you are not a law aspirant, you don't need to know about legal writing, right? So you can just go and see other opportunities that are being provided. Yeah, so you can check it on Coursera and Udemy as well. You'll find multiple short-term courses. Some of them are those free video courses as well. You can go through and do that. You can go on the site and do that as well. So the video courses, I think, are self-paced. So there's no rush that you will have to complete it or not in like 1 week and you have to complete it. You can do it in your own pace and just finish off the exams or those short tests that they give you in the end. I think I have a question. Any tips for those preparing for CLAT? Those preparing for CLAT, I would suggest keep an account. Firstly, you need to know that if you're giving CLAT, it's going to get very expensive after you finish off with your, like you have done and you cleared CLAT. So be prepared with that. The second thing is if you are not uh, how to get it. Okay. So most of the times when you're giving CLAT, you are targeting a few NLUs and NUJSs, right? Now you cannot be disheartened if you give CLAT and it does not, you let's say you do not rank in the first few hundreds or 200, let's say 500, and you don't rank in that. So in such cases, what happens is you get very demoralized, and you want to opt for other, other colleges in such cases. So if you are applying for CLAT, please know what are the options open for you. There are, I'm sure whichever state you are from, you'll have your own state university examinations as well. So let's say if you are not getting into NLU, NUJS and all of those colleges, it is preferably best for you to give your university exam after you have seen what your CLAT results are like. Or alongside with that, just go and sit for the university examination along with CLAT. And if you're preparing for CLAT, time yourself with your mathematics, because I remember when I gave CLAT and I was very bad at it. So time yourself with your mathematics, and apart from that, legal aptitude is going to be simpler. Keep yourself up to date about general knowledge for the last 10 years. More than that should not be necessary, but if you want to, then I think just go through the award sections, right, of who got what awards for more than 10 years. But up till 10 years is enough for your general knowledge. And the rest, I would suggest all the very best. I hope you do well. We have another question, is it?
No, I don't think there are any questions.
Yeah.
There is just one question. We are actually overshooting, but I'll just take up this question because I also found it very interesting. So, the question is that it's not really about. So Mayank is asking that it's not really about the profession directly, but he's curious to know how one can think like a lawyer in real life scenarios. but not necessarily a lawyer by profession. So, what characteristics of lawyers differentiate them from a layman? That is what he's asking.
Okay. Usually they are very argumentative, and apart from that, it's based on facts. Today, whenever let's say your mom comes and tells you don't have a banana, empty stomach, and you believe her, right? Or let's say you don't believe her. So you go on to Google, you open up a site, and you see how many sites are saying have the banana empty stomach or don't have it empty stomach. And you believe this, that this is it. But lawyers will not, because they will go and see which blogger has what credentials, and why should I believe this person who is telling me he have it empty stomach or don't have it empty stomach. So it's about whether you are believing in facts or not. So facts over any majority as well. So just because majority of the people are saying something, it still doesn't prove it right. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that makes them a little shrewd as well. But yeah, that's a necessity for the profession, and I think it's good to have that level of skepticism. There's a saying which is, even if you disbelieve, you're a believer. So disbelief is also a sense of believing, right? That I don't believe in. So having a little bit of skepticism in yourself and questioning yourself all the time, okay, is this correct? Is this not? That helps.
Understood. Okay. So, okay, there is. Okay. So Dr. Yogita is asking if you mind sharing your email ID. If it is okay with you,
Yeah,
I can.
I have
Uh-huh.
it. I have it right here.
Yeah. Or you can just type it out in the chat itself.
It's written here
Acha,
on your
okay.
slide. Yeah.
ठीक है, ठीक है. So, yeah, that is the email. That is Angelica's email ID if you just want to note it down. Also, one more thing, that this session is going to be available on YouTube whenever you want to watch it. Once again, you want to, go through it. So I've just pasted the YouTube link in the chat window. You can just, pick it up from there. I'm just quickly also launching a small feedback poll. I would just request people who are still watching to give their feedback here so that we know whether you found the session useful, and if we should have such sessions in future as well. Thank you so much to all the attendees who attended. um if you can just post a little bit, I've not gotten any entry on the feedback. If you can just give your feedback, then it will be very helpful. Yeah, thank you so much.
Niharika, can I get
Huh.
1 minute? 1 minute with
Yeah,
the
sure,
feedback?
sure, 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 sure. No, not a problem. Yes.
Yeah. So if you are getting into law and you still are confused about what it is like, I am just going to do one promotion here, which is this is my book here, which is Constitutionally Aware. It's a primer and it's off a primer series. I am coming out with another book in December, which is going to be a legal primer. So this is based on, if you want to know more about the Constitution. So you can purchase it from Flipkart. There is an ebook available as well. So you can, if you are interested, you can just have it. Thank you.
What was the name of the book? Sorry.
It is Constitutionally Aware, and it's a primer series.
Writing it in the chat as well if somebody wants to. Constitutionally aware, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm also just ending the poll. Thank you so much for your answers. So that brings us to the end of the session. Amazing session, Angelica. I mean, you made it pretty interactive, and of course, the knowledge you brought in and the insights you brought in were also, quite elaborate. So thank you so much for taking on the time
Thank you
and
for giving me the
having
opportunity.
this. Yeah,
Thank you.
having this with us. Thank you.